Good morning, everyone. One more class this week, as you know. And then after today, we have, I think, 4 more classes. 4 more regular classes. 2 weeks. So I'm going to start by returning some graded interval homework. It looks to me like intervals might be one of the things we do in ear training that trips up students the most. So I'm actually going to, after we do some sightseeing today, we're going to be working on intervals fairly heavily, I would guess, later this class. Intervals tend to be, because I think there's like 12 different ones when you include the major and the minor seconds, major, minor, thirds, and all those all the way up to the octave. There are quite a few to choose from, and unless the ear is pretty familiar with the sound of these, they can be difficult. So yeah, I think we're going to need to practice and focus pretty heavily on intervals between now and the next exam. I feel that's probably one of the tasks that's suffering the most, but I could be wrong. So let me return this quickly and then we'll get to what we need to get to. Okay, so before we start warming up our voices, I would like to collect today melody, the quiz melodic dictation, page 47, out of your ear training book. There was a quiz page, and you had, I think I assigned numbers 2, 4, and 5, not the entire page. There's 3 of them on that page. So that's page 47. If you could make sure your name is somewhere on that page and tear it out, I'll come gather that up and grade that between now and next Tuesday for you. Very well. Now, let's open up our sightseeing books, if you would, to page 32. And I'd like to vocally warm up with Melody 320. Melody 320 on page 32. This one is not difficult. However, it asks us to sustain some of the notes kind of long. There are some whole notes here, which I figured would be good to get breath support and to loosen the vocal cords. So on page 32, number 320, this is in the key of C. And as usual, we'll sing a scale and arpeggiate the tonic triad. All right, here we go. Ready? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, mi, sol, do, sol, mi, do. Very good. 320, as you know, is a hand signing example. And it does say slowly, but I don't want to go too slowly because otherwise those measures with the whole notes will probably last forever. So let me see if I can give you a moderate tempo. We start on Do. How about a tempo of 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, mi, do, re, do, re, mi, fa. Now, there are only a handful of students in this class left that still need to sing for a grade. And 2 of those students are here today. That would be Megan and Kelsey. I was going to pick, I chose the melodies I'd like to hear today for a grade would be 322 and 323. Do you prefer one versus the other?
I do
323? That's fine. Megan, how about 322? That one's in C major as well. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a few minutes to do that. As I said, Megan, yours is in C major, the same key that we just sang in. And yours is also going to be hand signs, it looks like. I'll go to the piano and give you a C, and we'll have you do this scale, C scale one more time. So middle C is right here. And could I hear your scale with signs, please? You start on Do. Notice that your first 3 pitches arpeggiate the tonic chord. So you got the Do, Mi, and Sol there. Okay, and then all you would need to do is just add some tapping of the 8th notes. Okay? So whenever you're ready. Good. Sol's a little bit lower. There you go. Okay, yeah, pitch-wise, for the most part, you got it. Rhythm-wise, it could be a little bit more accurate in terms of, doing the dotted quarters, tapping once for each 8th note, keeping it in time, keeping it in rhythm, that kind of thing. But I mean, you certainly have the skills, you have the ability to do this. I can hear it, I can see it. Okay? So just keep practicing and you'll finish strong, finish the semester strong. All right, thank you. Let's go go to 323. Kelsey, what key would you say this tune is in?
B-flat.
That's right, B flat. So we're going to go down a whole step from my Megan Rossini. If that fits your voice range. So if you can do that, let's hear your scale. And can you find your first pitch? Yeah, that's very good. And yours is conducting, it looks like. Wow. Okay. Super duper job. No, I don't think I have any problems there. So, good work. Good work all around. I think you'll be ready for the sight singing final exam. Good. Okay. So that wasn't bad at all. I don't anticipate. Well, we'll see. Next week, I don't know that I'll need to listen to any of you anymore in terms of quizzes. But I don't know. Maybe I'll rethink something out. If anyone might want to do it, let's do a second time to, well, I don't know, I'll think about it. If someone wants to add to their grade, or someone wants to improve their grade, or maybe even replace their grade or something like this I've seen for this quiz, I might entertain that idea, but I'll think about that between now and next week. All right, so let's go next to take a look at some of the melodies that we have assigned for next class. First of all, I'd like to point out that melody 327 on page 33. If you want to mark this in your book, melody 327 does not end on do. And I can't remember if this is one of the first melodies that's ever done that. But if you scan melody 327, you'll see that it's in B flat major, based on the key signature. It starts on sol. It does not end on do. What syllable does melody 327 terminate on?
Me.
Me, that's right. It ends on me. So when you're practicing this, or whenever you sing it, I don't want you to be thrown off guard, or I don't want you to think, oh, maybe I did something wrong. No, that it actually does not end on do, but it ends on me, which is actually part of the tonic chord. So it's not the strangest thing ever. But yeah, just so that you know it doesn't end on do, you can end on me, and that's okay, especially for this melody. Okay? In fact, why don't we go ahead, since we just came off of a tune in B flat major, why don't we practice and sight read, sing through melody 327 together, and that way we'll know that how it ends, what it sounds like at the very last measure. Let's do a scale, arpeggiated tonic triad, and then we'll read through melody 327. Here we go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Do, mi, sol, do, sol, mi, do. I'd like everyone to do your best to hum a sol for me in that key. Yeah, I hear it. This is conducting in 4. Just get some practice sight reading. Starting on sol, here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Sol, la, sol, mi, re. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re. Mi, sol, la, sol, do. next class, 324, 25, and 26. They should be all within your reach, within your grasp. Just as a point of information, or for your information, the 325, the tempo marking there says Frisch. Do you see that? You do have a glossary in the back of your book if you ever want to look up what these tempo markings mean. I can tell you because I already looked it up years ago, and I have it written in my book. Frisch means glad or joyous. So if you want to sing it that way, please feel free, because that's how it's indicated to be performed. Yeah, and then I think after this batch, let me take a look here. After this batch, we only have 4 more melodies to learn before the end of the semester, before the final exam. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting real close. Before we leave this book, I'd like everyone again to go back to page 9 if you could, and I'd like to read through one of the rhythms printed there. On page 9, if you go to the very bottom and take a look at rhythm 146. Rhythm 146. Lately, the rhythms have been such that the meter signature says that the half note gets the beat. And so in those, we're used to tapping the quarter note, because that's the division. But starting with 143 and following, the 8th note now gets the beat. So in 146, because the 8th note is the beat, we'll be tapping the 16th note as the division, the 16th note. And I'd like to practice speaking through rhythm 146 in triple meter. Okay. So, what beat do we start on in 146? Beat 3. Definitely. Beat 3. And the last measure only has 2 beats to it because of the pickup on beat 3 at the beginning. So that explains that. Don't need any pitches for this. Let's just go ahead into this. I'll give us all 2 beats. Let's come in on beat 3. See how accurately we can sight read it. How about a tempo of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, and 3, and 1, 3, 1, and 2, 3, 1, and 2, 3, 1. That's all we have. Okay? Again, I don't want you to forget about, I don't want you to lose your ability and to forget like how you perform these rhythms. I want it to be really good. And there's one of you that has already turned in your rhythmic video for your rhythmic quiz. Thank you for that. The rest of you, please remember, it's due 1 week from today. 1 week from today, November 12th. And that's all on Canvas again. So don't forget about that. And I've all assigned you a rhythm, and that information is in Canvas as well. All right, very good. Let's, I know this is a little bit sooner than I leave the sightseeing book, but I'd like to switch gears, go to ear training, because I want to focus a little heavily on intervals today. Eventually, in our ear training book, you'll need to be on page 15. Page 15. So today, according to the assignment sheet, today we need to talk about the last interval that we're going to be responsible for identifying by ear, and that interval is the perfect octave. We don't do unisons in this class. I guess that's, that's pretty obvious, self-explanatory, I suppose. Octaves, however, they can be one of the easiest intervals to recognize by ear but at the same time, singing an octave can sometimes be problematic, both in the context of a sight singing melody and singing an octave isolated. I don't know if you have experienced this yet when you practice any of your melodies in the sight singing book. And I don't know how many octaves we've had so far. We may get some more in the future. But sometimes when you're lost in a sight singing melody or when you're disoriented and you lose do, it doesn't matter if you're on do or if you're on another pitch. Sometimes hearing and thinking about an octave above another pitch is difficult. You can get lost. I've had it happen. Sometimes thinking about where an octave below a given pitch is difficult too. So I don't want you to necessarily take these octaves for granted, even though they don't have to be difficult to hear. You've heard many octaves in your life, I'm sure. So we'll just see how you do with identifying these. So I'm going to go to the keyboard and let's go ahead and listen to a few octaves. Okay, so for instance, there's an octave, as you know, that's ascending. On another pitch, we could have, there's a descending octave. Okay. Let's see here. What if I give you all, well, I'll give you, yeah, let's do it this way. Let's pretend this is a do. And let's sing that pitch, and then let's sing the octave above. Okay. Just I want to get some practice singing these. Ready? So sing do. Do. Now an octave above. Do. One more time. Do. Do. Good. Let me pick a different pitch, and we'll sing an octave below. I don't want to get too high. How about this one? Pretend that's still. We'll sing that one first and then we'll go down an octave. Do, do, one more time. Do, do. Okay. Now, let's take a look at, I'm going to come up or mention a few familiar tunes that begin with an ascending or descending octave from this sheet. Some of these tunes I sure hope you know. A familiar tune that starts with an ascending perfect octave. Do you all know Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Does everyone know what movie that originally came from? What movie is it? Right, The Wizard of Oz. From 1939. And that was Judy Garland. She was playing Dorothy, and she sang it obviously very well. She was a very talented singer. Somewhere, that's an octave. Over the rainbow. Okay. Another familiar tune that begins with an ascending perfect octave is a Christmas song. Do you know the song? Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. You've probably heard that a zillion times. There's an ascending octave. And then there's one tune listed on your sheet here that begins with a, well, it doesn't technically begin. It's the second and third notes. There's a descending octave. Have you ever heard the song, There's No Business Like Show Business? There's no business like show business. So it's second and third notes. No business. There's your descending octave right there. So if any of those melodies help you identify or recognize the sound of an octave, ascending or descending, please remember that, or please use that to get the appropriate answer when the time comes. Now, the octave completes our study of identifying intervals by ear. Okay? I'm not going to do any compound intervals in this class, like ninths, 10ths, 11ths, 12ths, whatever. And next semester, I may have mentioned, next semester I don't really work with intervals either. I may review them on one of the first days of class next semester, but they're not a regular, they're not a regular ingredient in the class, so to speak. So this is really the only semester that I focus heavily on the intervals. So what I have done is I have written up or given you, kind of made a special table that I put on, well, it's not even a half sheet of paper, it's like on a third sheet of paper. And I'm going to distribute this to all of you. These are some of the ways the table kind of distinguishes the intervals among all the other intervals in various ways, various contexts. And I'm going to give you one of these, and I'm hoping that this will help you mentally understand and help you think about what you should listen for when you're listening for the different intervals, okay? So let's take a look at this for a second, and then we'll go practice some intervals since we have all of them now to work with. So I have the intervals in this chart kind of classified according to consonants versus dissonants, but then also they're classified according to their size. How wide are these intervals? Are they small, very narrow intervals? Are they medium-sized, or are they very large or wide intervals? So you can see that with all of the interval choices, the minor second all the way up through the perfect octave, I believe we have, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, there's 12. There's a dozen different types of intervals. How do you start narrowing down the field when you hear interval played at the piano? Well, one way you can start narrowing the field down is decide for yourself, does this interval sound like it's very narrow? There's a small amount of space between the pitches? Does it sound like there's a medium amount of space between the pitches? Or does it sound like there's almost or nearly an octave or an octave between the pitches? Okay? That's one way to narrow down the field. Another way to narrow down the field of choices is, does this interval sound dissonant versus consonant? Okay? If it's a dissonant interval, it's got to be a second, a tritone, or a seventh, as you can see in the table. If it is consonant, it's got to be a third, a fifth, a sixth, or an octave. And then the perfect fourth is the only outlier. That's the exception. It can be sometimes consonant or dissonant. So maybe using well, you probably just, yeah, you maybe not want to listen to consonants versus dissonance for the perfect fourth. But the perfect fourth we know is always the sound of "Here Comes the Bride." If you want to take a perfect fourth descending and turn it around, however you want to do it to find that. Okay, now, I'm going to go to the piano, and before we do any of the intervals in our book, I just want to see how you feel about identifying a consonance versus a dissonance. So sometimes I feel when I look at the homework, and I know that the interval is a dissonance, and some people put down an interval that's a consonant, sometimes I wonder if the consonant's dissonance is actually registering in our ears. Okay? So I don't want you to identify the interval by any means. I just want you to tell me whether or not you hear a consonance or a dissonance, okay? Let's start with this one. Anybody, what do you think? Dissonance. Okay, dissonance. That means that that interval I just played has to be in the dissonant column. It's either a second, a tritone, or a seventh. Okay? Let's do another one. How about this interval? Would you say consonance or dissonance? Consonance. Consonance. Okay? So that would make it a third, a fifth, a sixth, or an octave. It eliminates some silly responses, some answers that don't make any sense. How about another one? Let's try this. Consonance or dissonance?
Dissonance.
Can you say that one more time?
Dissonance.
It's actually a consonance. And if I play it up an octave? That is a consonant. Do you know what that is?
At the fourth? Or is
It's
that
not a
third?
fourth. It's actually a third. It's a major third, yeah. Okay. How about an interval that sounds like this? Is it pretty clear whether it's consonant versus dissonant? I I hope you would say that this is dissonant. And it's actually very wide. So it's probably some sort of 7. That's how I would probably think about it. Just a couple more. How about, oh, here's a good one. Consonants or dissonance? What would you say?
Consonants?
Consonants, that's right. Okay. Would you say this is small, medium, or large in size?
Medium.
Okay, medium to, it's actually medium to large. That's what I would say. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking it's a fifth, a sixth, an octave? What are you thinking?
6.
A sixth, that's right. That's right. It turns out to be a minor sixth. It's a minor sixth. Because I can't sing crazy to those notes. I could sing crazy to these. Crazy. So I could sing to that one. I can't do NBC with these. I could do NBC with this. NBC. Right? Not that. And then finally, let's do one more. What do you think this is? Consonants or dissonance? That's got to be a dissonance, right? Does it sound like the notes are far apart or really close together? Close together, right? So what are you thinking? Just without any quality, are you thinking, which of the dissonant intervals are you thinking on this table? A second. It turns out to be a minor second. Now I didn't play them separately, and I'll do that, of course. But I guess what I want to do is I want to see if I can eliminate, when it comes to the final exam, eliminate silly answers or answers that don't really make a lot of sense. If I'm playing a dissonance, like a seventh, a tritone, or a second, I really don't want you putting in there like the answer is a perfect fifth or a major third or something. Okay? That's the idea. I want to eliminate silly answers so you have a much better chance of getting the right answer. A much better chance. And that's why I've given you this interval table. Okay. So, with that said, let's go ahead now and in your book, your training book on page 15, let's start attacking some of these. You'll notice on page 15 it says at the top, all intervals. So now every simple interval that we've learned from the second up to the octave is fair game. Okay. Yeah, and so using the table, using what you know to narrow down the choices, let's see how you do. We won't do all of these. I don't think we'll have time to do all of these. Can we start with start at the top, number 1, page 15. Do you have page 15 by the way? Yeah. I didn't collect that. Okay, good. Sometimes I collect the back side of these and then you don't have it in your book. If you want to have the table out in front of you right now, the little sheet that I gave you, if that helps you, go ahead and use it now. Okay, let me play these as I usually do. I'll play them twice, first together and then separate. So number 1 sounds like this. Number 2. Number 3. Sometimes I found if you can kind of like transfer the notes into your own vocal range, like if it's too low, then raise it up to your vocal range. If it's too high, lower it. If you can hum it very softly or even whisper the individual notes to yourself to help you remember and identify what it is, any of these tactics may be helpful to you. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Finally, we'll pause after this one. Number 10. The 10 sounds like this. I'm going to stay over here next to the piano in case you'd like to hear any of these again. I certainly can play them again. All right, so we did the first 10 intervals. This is a good time to evaluate or assess and check how are we doing with intervals. If you miss, more than 3 out of 10, I think you need a little more practice, a little more help. Okay? And I'd be happy to work with you on that. Number 1, I hope you got a minor third. Minor third. Number 2 was a major sixth. A major sixth. Number 3, major third. Major third. Number 4 was a perfect fifth. Perfect fifth. Number 5 was a minor seventh. Minor seventh. Number 6 was a perfect fourth. Perfect fourth. Number 7 was a major third again. Major third. Number 8 was a minor third. Minor third. Number 9 was a tritone. If you put diminished fifth or augmented fourth, all of that would be acceptable. It's a tritone. And then number 10, I hope you got a perfect octave. P8. Perfect octave. All right. Let me know which one or ones would you like to hear again? Yes.
Number 6.
Number 6. That was this. So I did. Here comes the bride. That's a perfect fourth. Good. Any others? Yep.
2 and 3.
Okay, number 2. That's a major sixth. Crazy, or my body lies over the ocean. That'll work. Number 3 was your plain, your standard major third here. Do, mi, sol, mi, do. Those would be the first 2 notes if you arpeggio major triad. Okay, any others? Now, for those of you, for any of the ones that you missed, I'd be curious to know, you put the right answer in there, I'd be curious to know, at least, like for instance, if you missed a major third, did you at least put a consonant interval? Did you miss it with a consonant? Like, did you at least put a minor third or a perfect fifth or something else that was consonant? I'd be curious to know. If, for instance, you missed the minor seventh, number 5, did you at least miss it by putting another dissonant interval in there, like a tritone or a second or a major seventh, something like that? Because if not, then I think you're missing a big part of the color of these intervals. Okay. Let's do 5 more. Let's do 11 through 15, and then we'll look at the answers and then we'll call it quits, just for a lot of extra practice. Between now and the exam, please feel free to come see me or come see Micah. Both of us would be happy to play intervals, various intervals for you to identify them. Okay, to work one-on-one with you if you need it. And I can tell you also right now that there are 12 intervals to identify on the final exam. There are 12 of them. Okay? All right, so 11 through 15. Here we go. Number 11 sounds like this. Number 12. Number 13. Number 14. And the last one for today, number 15. So, number 11. I hope you got some sort of a second. Number 11 is a minor second. Minor second. Number 12, major third again. Major third. Number 13 I thought was tricky. This one kind of falls in the cracks in my mind, but it's a minor sixth. A minor sixth. Number 14, this time it was a major second. Major second. And finally, number 15 was a major seventh. A major seventh. So for the last one, major seventh, I hear it's so close to this. It's just a half step shy of a perfect octave, which is what a major seventh is. I hear this want to resolve outward to a perfect octave, a consonant. Does anyone want to hear any of those 5 again? Yes?
Number 12.
Okay, number 12. Again, do, mi. If it's too low for you to kind of hum silently to yourself, do, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do. These are the first 2 notes of a major triad. That's kind of how I hear that. Other ones.
13.
Okay, 13. Yeah, this one is a little tricky. To me, it sounds major. Why does it sound major? Well, because the inversion of a minor sixth is a major third. I kind of hear this, which is a major third. The reverse, the inversion is a minor sixth. So it's like mi, do, from do, mi. That space from mi all the way up to do. This would be a major sixth. Here's a minor sixth again. A little softer, around the sound. Okay? So, that looks like it's all the time we're going to have for practicing intervals today. Your next assignment is another interval assignment. I think it's page, I don't know now, 16 or something. Okay, so page 16, numbers 1 through 25. Do your best. Listen to those in each of those intervals multiple times until you're pretty confident about your answer. Again, it's going to be all intervals with your choices, seconds through octave. And that's for Tuesday. So, thank you. We'll stop here.